Everybody, it is time.
It is time.
It is time. We're back, baby.
Yes.
Welcome back. Welcome back. Welcome back to the podcast. Where we ask the question.
Hey.
Hey. Remember the Aughts?
I sure do.
Thomas is here.
I am here.
I'm Courtney.
She's Courtney.
She's Courtney.
She's Courtney.
Oh my gosh, we'll have to cover that at some point.
Oh, yes.
Yes. But we are the podcast where we talk about everything from the 2000s and influenced by the 2000s, from My Chemical Romance to The Umbrella Academy.
Ah, okay. Interesting. That was a good parallel.
Came up with that now.
I love that. Well, aren't a lot of these new like comic shows based on ones from the aughts? Like Invincible, I think, was an aughts book, right?
That's likely.
Yeah.
That's likely.
Invincible. What else is there? Obviously, The Boys.
The Boys. Yeah.
Umbrella Academy. Bunch of stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
What's my thing? My thing is Dance, Gavin, Dance. Which, that's a whole fucking story of problematic garbage.
Just Dance, Gavin, Dance.
Dance, Gavin,
Oh, and then
Dance.
The Main.
The Main. Oh, yeah, they had a thing too, didn't they?
Yeah. But that was more word of mouth than a documented
Yeah,
issue.
Dance, Gavin, Dance. It's very evident there was a problem.
Right. Like The Main was more, I heard from this person who knew this person who was sending weird text messages to band members when they were much older than the person they were texting.
Mm-hmm.
That kind of scenario.
We also are very well documented about all the garbage Jared Leto has done, and nobody seems to care.
Ew, yeah, it's the whole Jesus thing. I mean, there's well-documented stuff and then, like, stuff that we know personally.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
but I think even that is emblematic of just being in a place of complete enabling and thinking that it's okay.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
Although
when you look like Jesus, I guess people let you do whatever you want.
Although that couldn't save Morbius.
It could not save Morbius. We had the Batman, and then the actual Batman
Morbius
come out in the same summer, in the same spring.
I love that it didn't do well, but the memes were so strong. They literally thought like, oh, this could be like...
They leaned into it.
Yeah, they leaned into it. They're like, oh, this could be like The Room. People will go see the movie because of the meme. And they misread that so bad. It re-released and only made like $85,000.
We're going to talk about another flop today, too.
Oh, we are. Yes, we are. And it's a very special one.
Yes.
And,
but Morbius is like a special thing.
It's Morbin time.
It's Morbin time. Well, we've been on a hiatus.
Yes.
And it's Morbin time.
That's why we were on the hiatus. I was preparing for Morbius.
Yeah, we needed to hibernate for Morbius. We had to get ready for it. But I don't know if you want to go into it, but like it just, over the like time of 6-7 months, we just had like a lot of life stuff happening. Different things coming and going, and I think it was sort of just like the first time that you and I both were sort of dealing with different things at the exact same time, so we both just really needed the time to focus on those things and then come back to this when we were ready.
No, absolutely. And then we thank you guys, and Courtney, thank you. It's been a few months. Things are a lot better I know in my circumstances, things are a lot better. There was just a lot of focus and time that needed being worked on the last few months, but we're back and we're here, and we never intended to abandon. It's just life is complicated sometimes.
I think also, we started this podcast in the middle of the stay in place order. and that's a time where you really need to distract yourself with activities, so it made sense. And although I kind of went back to in-person stuff a lot sooner, it seemed like once life had really changed, it, for me at least, I don't know how it felt for you, but it seemed like in the past few months that we've stalled, it felt like, oh, how are we going to keep this thing going?
Yeah.
And also kind of come back to real life.
Yeah.
Yeah. But, you know, we're back. We're going to keep this thing going. We never had the intention of canceling it. That's why we never said anything about the hiatus, because then it felt like it would be official.
Mm-hmm.
And we didn't want that. The goal was always to come back. So we wanted to make sure that we come back for our anniversary series.
Yes.
Cover something Shrek related.
It's in the theme of Shrek, but if you thought we were doing Shrek the Third,
no,
you would be wrong.
We decided to do something a little different.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's actually a good idea that we did cover this, because in the grand scheme of things, I think this came out before Shrek the Third.
I mean, it has to. The continuity also in this, I mean, we're going to talk about, but the continuity is all fucked.
Yeah. I had an issue with that too. And I think in the past with episodes, I've tried really hard to stick to a very chronological telling of whatever we're reviewing. I say fuck it for this.
Yeah.
Because it's weird and displaced and very clunky.
Mm-hmm.
So we can be too. And yeah, so we're going to release this episode for our anniversary. We wanted to come back for our 2-year anniversary. And then we're going to take a little time to plan out the next few episodes. We do have one in the bank right now.
Yes.
That we planned on releasing and we'll still release. But, you know, don't be surprised if you don't see another few weeks go by without a new episode after this, because we're just taking the time to really plan out what the next few weeks are going to look like.
Maybe I'll decide to post some videos of me doing Aughts karaoke, because that's a lot of what I've been doing in my free time.
God. I love that so much.
Oh my god. I love karaoke, and I've been told I don't have the worst voice.
I love it. See, I feel like I don't have a bad voice,
You
and
have
then
a
I get
great
told
voice.
to stop singing. Thank you. I get very unsure, and then I think it's just a reaction of like, I'd wish you'd stop singing all the time. But I love that you are doing karaoke more often. I love that.
Who's telling you to stop singing? Is it Eric? Do I have to have a word with Eric?
No, it's not Eric. I think it's just very much in the same vein that when I was younger and my dad would just sing around the house, I'd be like, please stop.
I understand.
Stop. It's nothing about the quality. It's just about the frequency.
You know what? That's fair. There is,
Yeah.
I get that.
Yeah.
But trust me, you have a great voice. You could sing. I have a voice, but I sing anyway.
But I love that. I love that you don't care. That singing is just an activity.
Yeah, it's fun.
Yeah. But I really want to do karaoke with you again.
Let's do it. But
we'll do it.
In terms of singing, I think it's time to say that today's episode, we are doing Shrek the Musical.
The story you know. The characters you love. The magic you can't resist.
You were expecting Prince Charming?
Direct from Broadway, Shrek the Musical has critics everywhere falling all over themselves.
Ta-da!
Shrek.
I think this is only the second musical that we've covered.
Yeah, the first one was the Evil Dead musical.
First one was the Evil Dead musical, which is by far a very superior musical.
Yeah, and it was never truly on Broadway either.
Right. I mean, I definitely stand by some off-Broadway shows being better than some Broadway shows. But in terms of movies or properties that get turned into musicals, what I've seen so far, this one is terrible.
And it's a bizarre, it's weird. That's the only thing I could say. It's weird. I hated it.
Yeah.
I'm not a musical person, but you are. But like I was just dumbfounded by this. So I had to like look up some facts, and one fact
Mm-hmm.
that blows my mind: this cost $25 million and was one of the most expensive shows to ever open on Broadway. And it didn't. I don't think it broke. I don't think it truly recouped its investment.
Mm-hmm.
It played for a year because it opened in 2009.
Mm-hmm.
And then it shut down January 3rd, 2010. I think there was a second. I think it came back in 2012.
Maybe. I don't remember that.
But
I know
like,
they released the recording for it in 2013 and then added it to Netflix.
they just dropped it there and hoped people would like it.
I guess because they have some sort of deal with DreamWorks.
Mm-hmm.
That Netflix has a deal with DreamWorks, but I'm not sure what the actual guidelines are for that partnership.
Yeah, I don't know either. It's just this whole musical's fucking bizarre.
Yeah. I've seen a lot of musicals that are based off of movies and different properties. I've seen American Psycho,
The musical,
the
yeah.
musical. And I'm not gonna lie, I think that was still better than this. Mostly because the one thing that American Psycho got right is the aesthetic.
Okay.
They messed up on a lot of other opportunities. And some might argue that the lead singer is obviously not as talented as Brian Darcy James and Sutton Foster. But that's probably where a large majority of their budget went. I wonder.
That's fair.
So, I mean, I can't believe this thing cost $25 million. That's crazy.
Although, like, it did
yeah.
win like awards for its set design and costume, which I will give. Like, there are some really good sets and costumes, even though Shrek looks weird. But like, what's your
only
take?
liked Fiona's costumes.
Okay, that's fair.
Yeah.
There's a giant dragon.
Let's talk about the fucking dragon.
Let's talk about the dragon.
Okay, well, first, actually, you know what? Yeah, so the dragon, honestly, is the moment where I figured out my whole thesis on this musical. Literally leading up to that moment, I was like, I think I'm actually gonna like this. I don't think it's that bad. Sutton Foster is just pulling out all the stops to make this as good as anything else she's ever done. And then they have 3 different women doing the voiceover for the dragon, and I just thought to myself, this is so stupid. So it literally oscillated back and forth like that every 5 seconds. As soon as I sort of conditioned myself into thinking that this wasn't that bad, then something completely stupid and pointless would happen, like Fiona dancing with a bunch of rats.
Mm-hmm.
A bunch of rat people.
Yeah, but the three blind mice weren't in this.
Well, yes, they were.
Oh, they were.
Yeah, but they were like sexy backup singers. It was gross.
Oh my god.
I didn't like that.
No.
It made me very uncomfortable.
There's just to basically put it out there, if you've seen the movie Shrek, you understand the plot of the musical, except the musical takes some weird creative liberties and does some odd choices. And I know that, like, what's her name? I don't want to say showrunner, but the woman who did the music for this.
Music and lyric. Oh, I'm still on Wicked. Hang on, let me go to Shrek the Musical. Hang on. Let's see. Janine Tesori.
Yeah, I know she's had, like, apparently a very strong, like, a lot of people involved in this have had incredible theater careers.
Yes, absolutely.
But it's just I think I have to state this. I was watching someone review this musical, and just because I was like, I'm not a theater person. I need to get an understanding from a theater perspective. And the weird thing, but like, even when we talked about the first Shrek movie, one of the things that made Shrek work and like was DreamWorks' staple identity was to contrast itself from Disney. Like, we are not Disney. We are not doing musicals. And he brought up a good point that even in the original movie, anytime a character tried to break in the song, it's abruptly like broken. Like they actively make sure to not break out into musical song, and because Shrek is a character like he's anti the Disney formula. But this whole musical feels like that.
So that's my theory, that I think what they should have done is embrace breaking the fourth wall and the anachronisms and the pop culture references. My initial criticism for Shrek the movie was that too many references, like the Matrix thing and other pop culture things that got used way too much when we were kids. This, I feel like, wasn't sure if it should do that or not. And any moment where Shrek was critical that somebody started singing, or that they were like breaking out into a musical, or like the moments where Fiona is trying to play into what her role is as a princess who is like held captive in a tower. I wish that they did more of that. I wish they went more into him wishing that everybody would stop singing. Like I don't think they did that enough. And then I think also part of the problem is that they worked so hard to make it very believable that you are in the swamp. But the thing is, Shrek the movie has always been very self-aware that it's sort of like these characters in a movie that are making fun of other movies and other properties. So I really wish that the musical did not take itself so seriously in creating such a complicated fairy tale setting, because that kind of misses the point.
The set design is so, you could see where a lot of the budget went, but you're right, that does take away from like the satirical aspect of Shrek. And it's like, it was hard for me specifically. I was watching this and like I see a Shrek. I see a Shrek. I see all the things. But it's like, even, you know, it's weird. Like we talked about, because the inevitability of Shrek is you also have to talk about Shrek, the like cultural phenomenon of memedom and everything like that. Somehow the memes, even the worst ones, still feel more like true to Shrek than Shrek the Musical felt like Shrek.
There's an authenticity that is missing from the musical because they're trying to take themselves so seriously as a musical. But at the same time, when Fiona has that rat dance that I hate so much, it's sort of like she's playing on her experiences in musicals in this uncomfortable, quirky kind of way. Instead of just letting Sutton Foster do an amazing tap dance, she's making all these dumb, quirky faces. And I thought to myself, I'd rather have the scene with Robin Hood. That's the actual musical scene.
Yeah, that was weird.
Movie.
They removed the one scene from the movie that was actually a musical.
Yes. And it's such a good scene.
It's one of the best scenes.
Right. So even with her scene, I think it's called like I'm a Morning Person or something like that. You know, I love the scene in the movie when Fiona is singing to the bird to the point that she kills it.
Yes.
And at first I thought, oh, haha, they're still going to do it in the musical. That's fantastic. And then they keep it going. And I'm like, please, just be kidnapped by Robin Hood soon. Just end this with Robin Hood. And instead, I don't know. I think I disassociated at that point because it got to be too much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was... I also didn't like the trauma song.
Oh, yeah. Okay, I wanted to talk about that. I've Got You beat.
Yeah, the weird trauma song. This musical... I will compliment one thing. There's a song early on when Lord Farquaad is like browsing for princesses. Fiona gets an original song to kind of like between her youngest self, her teenage self, and then her modern self.
I loved that song. That was great.
Yeah, I thought that was really a good inclusion because the idea is it's an adaptation. You could do more from the original source material. That was pretty cool. But then they like amp up this weird bipolar aspect And it's just
Oh,
like,
no, I did not like that.
yeah,
No,
this
no, no,
weird,
no.
they relied so much on weird mental stigmas and then homophobic stigmas and transphobic stigmas.
Justice for Big Bad Wolf.
Yeah.
I was really caught off guard when 2 minutes in they make a transvestite joke that say I'm a hot tranny mess, and I was like, no, no, the Big Bad Wolf is a gender fluid icon. You don't get to belittle Big Bad Wolf's experiences like that.
Or when Shrek, I remember I texted you right away. Shrek calls
Yeah.
someone a smug bottom.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
yeah.
we love our bottoms. We will not accept the bottom shaming here.
No, we love our bottoms here. This is a bottom safe place.
Yes.
In this podcast.
Coming from coming from a selfish top.
But also, I think that there was some joke that Pinocchio made. There was another joke in there that I don't quite remember that wasn't good. And then I think overall, when the show made jokes that were from the movie, they never kept the comedic beats to it or the comedic timing. I think they thought, because people know these jokes already, that they shouldn't put more emphasis into them and focus more on their own jokes. But the jokes from the movie are what make the movie so fun for so many people.
Yes.
Even if you do think it's stupid now, those jokes are hilarious. So every time they made a joke from the movie, they just sped through it. And I think that's where it loses its authenticity.
Yeah, and not only just jokes, but like important character moments, like when they like the onion line, like, you know, like that is, even if you just know Shrek by the memes, you know that Shrek talks about how ogres are like onions.
Yeah.
And in the movie, it's a really well animated and orchestrated scene where they're like going through this farm, clearly some poor peasant's farm. Shrek just steals all these vegetables and just happens to have on hand an onion. And to appease Donkey's annoyance, he's just like, ogres are like onions. But
instead in this one,
yeah,
he just out of nowhere is like, ogres are like onions, and he pulls out a really fake, shitty looking onion.
Yeah, where did he have that onion?
Where did the onion come from? And then they sort of run through the joke of, you know what also has layers? Parfaits. Like, what's good about the scene in the movie is Shrek goes through his monologue about how ogres are like onions, we have layers. And Donkey has a moment of defeat, and then you have that time for him to figure out, oh, I've got a new idea. I've thought about this. I'm not going to let you get me down. Parfaits have layers too. They missed that beat.
They missed the beat. They missed it. It's
so, yeah.
Also,
what did you think of I've Got You beat?
That's
another trauma song.
It's alright. The trauma songs.
It's weird and it's uncomfortable. It's kind of still on that old idea, and I think this is more of the times, but it was more on the idea of I had a rougher childhood than you did.
Yes.
Instead of just the fact that everybody had a rough childhood for one reason or another.
Yeah, I hated it in that regard because it was just this weird trauma off.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not thoughtful. It's not clever.
I also think that there could have been so many other words in a song that could have captured them relating to one another, because I just couldn't understand how this was the song that was supposed to make it clear to the audience that they're building an attraction for each other.
Yeah.
That wasn't there at all.
You know what scene does that pretty well in the movie?
What scene?
The Robin Hood scene.
The Robin Hood scene! It does it so well, because he's so surprised that she can kick ass, and they start making the food together. I don't know. I just, I think that they missed a lot of different things that actually captured the essence of the story. And we should probably talk a little bit, too, about the difference between you have the way book storytelling is told, the way that movies are told, and then what I've seen from movies to Broadway shows is there is always this added background story. I don't know why that is. Personally, I don't need a backstory when it's from a media that I've known so well. They did it to the Frozen musical. They added more backstory. And then for Moulin Rouge, I think for Moulin Rouge it made a lot of sense because they chose to actually like update a lot of the things that were probably culturally ignorant for the time when the movie came out. Like they updated a lot of that stuff, so that was good.
Yeah.
But as far as this musical goes, there are just a lot of aspects of creating that story that I really didn't need. And same thing for Hadestown. Hadestown, a lot of the criticisms for the off-Broadway run was that, oh, they needed to spell it out for you. You can't just put people into this thing and expect them to know. It's a story about Hades and Persephone and Orpheus and Eurydice. I personally don't need a backstory for that.
Fair.
But, you know, so that happens with like a varying degrees of success. I think this one was terribly unsuccessful.
Mm-hmm.
Like, trying to set it up for, oh, I was a child who got kicked out at 7. Like, I didn't need ogre parents.
Yeah.
And ogre trauma is kind of weird, just in general. I don't really know the confines or the guidelines for ogre trauma.
It's
yeah.
My bad. Go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, like, I think in I Know It's Today, it makes sense because it gives you a little bit more of like how frustrating and boring that must have been for Fiona, which they don't really include that in the movie. She just sort of exists in the tower when she needs to appear.
Yeah.
But leading up to the I've Got You beat song, it kind of relies on these things that they created within the musical. So not a lot of people have time to develop a relationship with those elements that they just added for the show.
Yeah, that's a good point. And
Yeah.
like I remember watching this, and obviously like I didn't mind so much them adding a little bit more backstory for Shrek, because I know in the original book like that was part of the story, like he gets kicked out at an early age, but
Okay.
like imagine this. The reason why one of the most impactful moments of the movie Shrek is it opens with like this traditional fairy tale story.
Right.
You know, Mike Myers is reading this fairy tale story with the harmony music and the charm, and then he goes, yeah, right, rips the page out of the book to wipe his ass. Then the song kicks in, and he kicks down the bathroom door, and it tells you right away, this is not this is not a fairy tale you're familiar with. Like it just
right.
it's funny, it's effective. But this musical only tries to replicate that in its aesthetics, where like they have this big bathroom that he destroys.
Yeah.
And I know it's a musical, so they didn't want to license pop music, but like I feel like the pop music is such a staple of Shrek that they couldn't incorporate it in any way, or at least just that song.
That's why I think they should have, you know, just embraced the anachronistic aspect of Shrek. There are plenty of anachronistic fairy tale or historical things that people love. Like, I kept thinking of A Knight's Tale, and I feel like Shrek the Musical was even trying to adopt similar themes to A Knight's Tale, like the way that they kept singing about like riding with the stars, or what could I do differently if this wasn't my fate. I kept thinking of in A Knight's Tale when they say like, can the stars be rewritten? It should have just been a jukebox musical.
Yeah. Why wasn't it that? It would have
been so much better. I think it would have worked better if it was a jukebox musical.
That just seems to make the most sense, especially since like the songs are such a staple of the identity of Shrek. It's just so bizarre.
I had the same exact feeling when I started watching it, when he starts going into his childhood and then they show him in the bathroom. I'm immediately preparing myself for All Star to start playing, but I still knew that they weren't going to start with that. And then what they decide to do instead just doesn't hit the same mark. And it feels like they're
No.
attempting to make something similar to it, which just doesn't feel right. Feels
Yeah.
off. Yeah.
I listened to someone's review because their compliments are to certain songs, and I think the
Mm-hmm.
one song that they had a good opinion on was the song towards the end when Shrek opens up and is more vulnerable.
Mm-hmm.
And their point, and I thought about this a lot, and I'm like, this does make more sense to
Mm-hmm.
keep it with the, because it's a musical. They, you know, that they want to do the whole musical thing,
Mm-hmm.
but what if Shrek actively avoided singing until the end where he has to?
Totally.
Yeah, that makes more sense, right? Like he doesn't, because singing is a vulnerable action.
Mm-hmm.
Like all the other characters are musical, it makes sense. There's no objection to Fiona, Donkey, Lord Farquaad, all those characters singing, or the dragon. The dragon who now
With three
sings
different voices.
3 different voices. But like the whole movie, Shrek doesn't sing until he has to be vulnerable. That makes sense
Mm-hmm.
thematically.
Yeah, I agree. And that was what was partially confusing with how much they took the pop culture references or the fourth wall breaking, like how seriously they took that, because some moments when characters would start singing, Shrek would roll his eyes and say something like, "Oh, not this again. Oh boy." And I liked those moments, but then other times he'd start singing. So which is it?
Yeah, his you can't eye roll at a musical number when you started this with a musical number.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
It's
I
you know what it
think
reminds me of?
yeah.
It
Mhm.
reminded me of, because I'm rewatching Community right now.
Mhm.
It reminded me of the Christmas Glee episode.
Mhm.
That
Mhm.
20, it's only 20 minutes long, but it works so well because the show is very meta and like tries to, it both loves and hate television tropes. So it's like joking about it. It's joking about Glee. So the whole episode is the study group trying really hard not to get persuaded to do the Glee Club,
I
but
do love
one
that episode.
but one by one they each get indoctrinated into the Glee Club. And the way that the songs are written are very satirical, and the characters trying to avoid it not singing. Like I love Annie's Christmas song to
I
Jeff.
love Annie's Christmas song.
It was so funny, but that's a very meta satirical way to do a musical.
Teach me how to understand Christmas.
Boop de doop de doop sex.
Sex. Yeah, it's so great.
It's I love it so much. But it's like that, and it's fun. The songs are fun. Like it makes sense, because like I'm not, like I said, I'm not a, it's not that I have anything against musicals, but I've just not had the same indoctrination or in being in the culture as a lot of people. But I could watch that episode and enjoy the musical aspect of it and want to see
Mm-hmm.
more of it. I never at any point watched Shrek the Musical and felt like I wanted more of Shrek the Musical.
No, no. I also didn't need the fairy tale creatures singing.
They sing a
Naturally,
lot.
they sang a lot, and naturally they were going to sing something about being freaks, which is what it was. It was a song about freaks and being freaks. That had a real Greatest Showman vibe where it's like, well, it's okay if we call ourselves freaks because we're calling ourselves freaks.
Yeah, but
Um,
they're talking about being, letting your freak flag fly, but they also are making fun of Lord Farquaad for being a freak, which they did some weird like canon change to Lord Farquaad.
yeah, I didn't need that.
No, they made him the son of one of the dwarves, so that's why he's so short. But that also means he's now a fairy tale creature.
But also, the thing that I don't understand is the actual financial aspect. If Lord Farquaad is a lord, but his father was a minor, how is he a lord?
Yeah, how did he become a lord?
So that was completely unnecessary. I think also Christopher Sieber did as much as he could with Lord Farquaad as possible.
Yeah, he was fine. Like he
Yeah.
like I don't understand. Like, what if this? And this is just me hypothesizing because
Yeah.
I've seen Wicked,
Oh,
And
you have seen Wicked. I thought you haven't. I'm
yeah,
sorry.
no, I did. I saw
Okay, okay.
Wicked. I took a former really close person to see Wicked.
Got it.
Um, but in that we get a backstory and adaptation to a very popular character. What if this musical was just Lord Farquaad's rise to power? Like, doesn't that seem like it fits a musical way more?
I think that Lord Farquaad is a great character for Broadway in the same way that, well into my adulthood, I have still seen Peter Pan on Broadway. And playing Captain Hook just seems like the most fun. Like, if you really enjoy playing a character, a ridiculous character, I feel like Lord Farquaad or Captain Hook is kind of that ridiculous cartoony villain that would just be so much fun to ham it up and play it out. So I think that I didn't need any of the background story for him because I didn't need it for the movie.
No.
And if you need to fill up time, just add the Robin Hood scene.
The Robin Hood, the literal scene, that's a musical.
Yes.
And
they
it's not like it's
snapped their fingers, and you could have done a West Side Story reference.
Yeah, and it's not like it's a pop song they'd have to license. It was an original song for the movie.
Well, that's my other question, too. Okay, so they reference Wicked in this movie. In the musical, when Christopher Sieber is singing. He says something like, "They won't bring me down," and then he hits the note that ends defying gravity. And then my head was just so hung up on that, and I kept thinking, so did they have to pay another musical just to add those notes into the song? Because as soon as I heard it, I could hear Idina Menzel singing it. It's note for note. So I would imagine that might have been part of the costs as well.
You know what's interesting is that's a good question. Because I don't know. I know that fair use has this weird gray area, but if it's a specific note, I think they probably had to pay the licensing for that.
Okay, because, again, I'm going to mention Moulin Rouge. The whole point of Moulin Rouge as a movie is it's a jukebox musical, right? Baz Luhrmann takes songs that we all know from pop culture, changes them up. Roxanne by the Police turns into the best tango love revenge song ever. But for the musical they had to go all out for it, and they had to get as many songs as possible. The thing is, they have to pay every single writer every time they use any of those songs in the show, and they have to get every single writer's permission. I guess they wanted to use Uptown Funk. They went through every single writer. Bruno Mars was fine with it, and there was one person who said no. So then that means they can't use it.
Oh, jeez.
So knowing that about Moulin Rouge, I'm curious to know how it applied for Wicked.
Probably had to pay a lot of money. A lot of money, because Wicked is an actually successful musical.
Right, and is getting turned into a movie. 2 movies, apparently.
2 movies?
2 movies?
2 movies.
This is the Amazon maybe voice. Amazon maybe?
Maybe. Oh boy.
Yeah. So I don't know. And I think also with the costumes for the characters and like for the quote unquote freaks, and the main characters, I feel like they were also just taking it way too hard. I didn't need Donkey to have these weird hooves.
Yeah, he had weird hoof hands.
The hooves really freaked me out.
They were weird.
And, the only costume that I think I genuinely liked, I did like Fiona's outfits. I liked that she had the wedding scrunchie, which is very authentic to the movie. But I did love Lord Farquaad's outfit.
Yeah.
I bless Christopher Sieber for doing an entire musical on his knees. And then when he does his song, What's Up, Duloc, and he pretends to be jumping over the mannequins and he's just standing, I was like, well, this I want more of. This is the sort of ridiculousness that I love.
Yeah.
But that's it.
it was having fun with itself, and just you have to
It
acknowledge these
needed more
things.
of
Yeah.
that. Yeah.
It just, but like, I got an issue with the continuity because the fairy
Hmm.
godmother is one of the freaks, and
Yes.
she gets her own song,
Yes.
but she's the villain of the second movie.
Yes. And she has a
What the?
great pop song in the second movie.
Yeah, what the? Like, the second movie was out by this time. It's not
Yes.
like they wrote the musical first and didn't realize they were gonna do this.
And they put Puss in Boots in it,
Yes.
which was weird. It was a
Yeah.
weird time to bring in Puss in Boots.
And I think that wasn't there like something where they were trying to parody or mock the Lion King musical? Because
Oh
they
yeah,
did
that
those
was
weird
another
puppet
reference.
things. Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't like that.
No.
I needed more of it, but not like that.
It needed to be more like.
I'm
It's
contradicting my own theory, but the Lion King was a weird choice.
well, no, because it's poking fun at a theatrical, like a very niche, like theater thing. Not so
Right.
much. It's not making fun of itself or its place in pop culture. Like, it's not in like it almost. The musical felt like it was all trying so hard to distance the name Shrek from its pop culture like stigma, but
Mm-hmm.
that is Shrek. Like I'm trying to think. Like, okay, so the Evil Dead musical, because
Mm-hmm.
that's the thing I can fall back on the reference, parodies and mocks itself a lot. Like I don't know if when we watched, because we watched the video version online.
Mm-hmm.
But I remember being in the actual theater watching the Evil Dead musical, and one of like just little bits here and there that are mocking and making fun of itself, like
Mm-hmm.
like they see the moon and there's a giant square, like the night sky is like a different color black from the outline
Mm-hmm.
of the moon, and it's just
Mm-hmm.
like that is like them mocking the bad set design of the original movie, and I'm like, that's a good joke, like mocking itself, like
Perfect.
yeah.
And then also, they used the set to sell like the original comedy of the movie and used it to their advantage. I think with Shrek, they sort of created a problem for themselves by trying to take the set as seriously as possible.
Yes, it's
It
too
seems
serious.
right. It seems to me they had a huge issue with how do we take this property, use the references we need from it to make people recognize it and think, oh, I want to see that, but also elevate it, but also keep it for kids.
Yeah,
I don't think they knew what direction to go in
no.
because they would try to be really serious, and then I've Got You beat ends with a whole farting burp scene. And I love to burp. I'm a sea monster that loves to burp. But this was a moment where I thought, like, what the fuck am I watching?
Yeah, it's bizarre.
Yeah. That's where the connection between the two of them, I just couldn't see it. So,
No.
what? How? Why? Even?
This fucking. I remember I felt bad. We were
Mhm.
watching it, and it took me 15 minutes in to be like, I hate this.
Mm-hmm.
And I texted
I think
you,
I
I'm
was
like,
2 minutes in.
I was like, I hate this.
Yeah. No, it's bad. It's really bad. I also am not used to seeing musicals I don't like. Normally, even the musicals that I'm not crazy about, like I get why Phantom of the Opera is so huge, even though it's not my thing. I will even give the parents of our generation Cats. I will give it to them. Andrew Lloyd Webber was probably on a shit ton of cocaine when he came up with it. But I understand there's a nugget of value to it.
Yeah.
This and American Psycho, I was just like, and we never needed that again.
No. You know, it's weird. So I kept thinking, because I know in the past I've talked about it, but there's that video online called Shrek Retold, and it's this retelling of the entire original movie, but done with like 300 different animators. So like
Right.
every couple seconds is a different animated scene.
Mm-hmm.
And that it's funny because it's a whole unique original experience. Like watching this animated thing is not going to replace the movie Shrek,
Right.
but it captures all the moments that make Shrek. Like there's that I'll insert it here, but there's a moment in that animation that I love. It's a beautifully animated scene, but it's when Shrek sees all these fairy tale creatures in his swamp and he
Mm.
yells, and it's like whoever the animator is must have gotten his son or younger brother to do it, but there's this young kid with this powerful voice just going like, "What are you doing in my
In my
swamp?"
swamp.
What are you doing in my swamp?
And then the musical, they miss that beat. It's just kind of like there's
he just
no
roars.
yeah.
And then they do like ooh, look, this is Broadway. We can add sound to this to make it big and ominous, but it actually does the exact opposite. It feels tactless
Yeah.
and like it's trying too hard.
What are you doing in my swamp?
It's
And
trying
you-
to yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
I was saying like it's taking itself so seriously that it's not allowing it to indulge in the goofiness. Like
Right,
we remember
exactly.
that scene like that scene in the original Shrek, especially since we were kids when we saw that. That scene made us laugh. It was
Yeah.
funny. Like there's this overwhelming sensation of all these fairy tale creatures in Shrek's swamp, and Shrek really hates that. So his
Right.
yeah, it's funny.
Every kid gets a little bit excited when somebody's mad about something, depending
Yeah.
on the context, because you know, when you're a kid, the whole point is that you push limits, you see what you can get away with, you see what you can't. That builds your context of the world around you. So seeing Shrek get angry is just hilarious. It's funny. So they kind of take that away in this.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure also people who come back to listen to this episode are like, well, what did you expect watching the Shrek the Musical? But you know what? This is what we do. We analyze pop culture, good and bad, so you don't have to. And this was just a weird one.
This was a Shrek property that we had to we had to look at and analyze it.
I was genuinely hoping I was going to come out of this and actually think, you know what, that was actually pretty fun. And literally anytime I started to think that, then it would do something fucking stupid that I just thought, I never need to see this again. Nobody
No.
needs to see this. We should probably get to the Shrek costume.
Okay, let's talk about Shrek's costume.
Where do we begin?
He's green.
Right.
He's
He
green.
is green.
He has it's his face.
It's the face. It's
'Cause-
definitely the face.
Because his face is too small for the Shrek head they gave him.
Yes, that's totally it. I think I would have preferred it if you could see Brian Darcy James's head
Mm-hmm.
and just, I don't know, give him some Elphaba green stuff. Oh shit, there were 2 musicals with green protagonists.
This and
Dang.
Wicked?
Yeah. They could have done it like Wicked, where it's just like you see his face and you know it's him. And he's green. And then he has the little ogre ears, you know?
Yeah,
And,
his
like,
face is
it's-
weird.
It's weird. It looks like it's not just a prosthetic nose, which I think is why Sutton Foster's transformation isn't as off-putting.
Yeah.
It's because for him it looks like it's an entire head piece. Like it looks like the head is just one entire piece. And then the hands, they're not real.
Oh god, the hands.
They're not his real hands.
They're
So
not his real hands.
he's just sort of this weird plastic man. He's not even an ogre.
No.
It's weird. It's more like a villain in Twilight Zone or a weird villain from the early 2000s Doctor Who than it is, oh, this is a person playing Shrek on Broadway.
Oh fuck yeah.
Yeah. He's an automaton.
Oh my god.
I just think, okay, for example, Wicked, Elphaba and Wicked, The Lion King. I'll even throw in Cats, which terrifies me, just as
Yeah.
a whole. They are pretending to be other things with the concept of still showing their human aspects.
Mm-hmm.
I think I would have preferred that over this weird plastic-looking helmet.
Yeah, that's what it
had
felt
on.
like. It didn't
Yeah.
work. It just was weird looking. It also takes away from the comedy. Like he's a good performer. He could have sold the bombastic nature of Shrek without all that.
He also looked extremely uncomfortable, and it looked very restrictive for him. Like, he doesn't really have a neck in it.
No.
And also, in general, Shrek's head is much bigger. Like, just based on the form that they gave him, they made his head look very small. So the whole thing looked off as a character, and then it just looked like he couldn't really move. And Brian Darcy Jones, oh my gosh, I've said this name multiple times today, and I can't get it right now for some reason.
It's all good, don't worry.
But he is a very character-based actor, and he loves doing like these sort of like ridiculous, I would almost say like Jim Carrey-esque, but musical version, like features and movements. And you know, when he started as King George III for the Hamilton's early runs, that's what people loved him for, is the like silly, ridiculous characteristicness of his tone. And I think when you put him in that suit, you are just instantly minimizing all of it. It's Brian Darcy James. Don't know why I suddenly thought it was Jones.
It happens.
It happens. But
you're fine.
Yeah, when you take a very physical actor like that and then just cover them in all this restrictive stuff, it's impossible to get the full range of their skills. Yeah. Unless you're Jim Carrey in The Grinch, which I love, but some people don't love.
It is, I enjoy it, but it is weird. It is creepy, but it works.
Weird. It's another green creature.
It works significantly better than fucking Cat in the Hat.
Ew. No.
It works so much better than Cat in the Hat.
Ew, which I think also had a very similar advertisement when it was on Broadway as well, where it was like, we're advertising that this is a property on Broadway, but we're not showing you anything about it because we're genuinely afraid you'll find it creepy. Like, the image was just like the cat's arm with the hat coming out of a manhole, which is creepy. Yeah. I like that this podcast episode has taken a range of green villain to hero stories. We got Shrek, we got Elphaba, and we got the Grinch in there too.
Yeah.
And then also Cat in the Hat, but I would argue that he stays a villain throughout the whole story.
Yeah, that was one of the creepiest designs.
Yeah, that guy's just a dick in the movie.
Fucking Cat in the Hat.
Ugh.
Oh my god. Well, is there anything else you wanted to touch on with this musical?
Maybe the gingerbread man real quick.
Okay, let's talk the gingerbread man.
It was weird and stupid.
Yes.
All right, that's my take on it. I'm good. What was your take on the gingerbread man?
Just, it was like, I think at that point I zoned out. I'm just like, whatever, it's fucking video gingerbread man.
This is the hell I'm living through right now.
Yeah. Hey, Google, stop. Sorry, Google wanted to let me know something.
It wouldn't be a classic Remember the Aughts episode if your Google didn't interrupt our recording session.
That's fair. Let me, hey, Google?
Yeah.
What's your thoughts on Shrek the Musical?
That seems like an interesting topic.
Wrong.
What do you want to know about Shrek?
No,
Don't
the
ask.
musical.
Nothing.
Sorry, I don't understand.
That's
Me
okay,
neither.
neither did I. Yeah.
Yes. Same.
Yeah, I'm leaving it in there. I'm leaving it in.
Totally. But yeah, I think that's everything. I mean, if you're a diehard Sutton Foster fan, it's worth watching for her. But man, she is working her ass off. And I just kept thinking, like, Hugh Jackman wanted to tap dance with you, and now in this you're dancing with rats.
I know that like this musical has its fans, and God bless them. I don't know if they're fans of the like. I don't know who this is for, because it's not for people who love Shrek.
Right. I think it's a good musical for a middle school to produce.
There are high schools and middle schools that put on this show.
Right. But even then, I feel like the kids are already like, this is fucking stupid. Like, I'm not a kid anymore.
I feel like it'd be funnier to see kids do it, because I feel like kids wouldn't have that self-seriousness and would just have fun with it.
Right. And I think they're the only ones who could get a kick out of the burp and the fart scene. Now, as opposed to the Scooby-Doo fart scene, that scene I love. I think that's hilarious. There is something about seeing Sutton Foster and Brian Darcy James just fart back and forth and burp on stage where I'm like, are they enjoying this? Are they convincing themselves they enjoy it? Or are they genuinely like, when am I ever going to do this again? This is fun. I just can't tell. Yeah. Can get the vibe.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. That's it.
Well, that was our discussion of Shrek the Musical. Would we recommend it?
No.
No. Does it hold up?
No.
No.
I don't know if it held up then either, based on the ratings.
Yeah, probably not.
No. It's not good enough to be a surprising gem, and it's not bad enough to be a guilty pleasure watch.
Yeah, because that was something I was hoping. I thought it would be funny weird.
Right, because when I watched The Evil Dead for our Evil Dead episode, I was laughing so hard. I was thinking, wow, this is amazing. I had no idea. When you went to go see it in high school, I didn't really think anything of it. It was just, okay, that's a thing that exists, and Tom's gonna go see it. But it was amazing. It was like such a hidden gem. This is not that at all.
Mm-mm.
This is a not hidden piece of coal.
No.
Yeah. Well, Tom.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
We could also bring back one of the other bits that we used to do.
Yeah.
What has been your weekly obsession?
Community.
Or I guess... Okay, yeah, your community. I was going to say, I guess, more like our 6-month obsession.
Well, if 6 months obsession has been boxing and karaoke.
Right, that's good. Those are good 6-month obsessions.
And lately I've just been rewatching Community. It was weirdly timed.
Yeah.
I watched the Music Glee episode not long before I watched Shrek the Musical. And it's just like how well one satirical meta like property could do it, and how poorly another one can.
You know what? I do have a couple more things to say. I'm sorry. I was going to say it earlier and I forgot. Speaking of like the self-awareness, I think at the end of the musical, when he thinks that Fiona has said some really hurtful things about him, he sings Build a Wall. And I think they tried to use it as a song to say, like, oh, look, he thinks he needs to reinforce the ideals that have been put upon him as an ogre. I think that should have been his introduction song. I think Build a Wall should have been his introduction song. And then they do this song called Make a Move when Donkey realizes that Fiona is kind of into him. I don't like the context of Make a Move because it kind of implies that whole, like, you can use the sunset. It's romantic. Chicks dig sunsets. Just place a smoochy smooch on her. Like, it was very much like Kiss the Girl from The Little Mermaid.
Yes.
But one of the original versions that they had planned for that song was called Let Her In. And I think that would have been much better. That would have added more to the sense of vulnerability. Make a Move kind of goes more with the idea that, like, women like it when men make a move and there's no conversation had. Where Let Her In is more about, like, the internal vulnerability that Shrek needed to learn throughout the story. So that's my final thing. I think Build a Wall should have been his introduction song, not his I'm gonna be what everyone thinks I'm gonna be song. And they should have kept the title of the romantic song as Let Her In.
Yeah, I agree. That makes a lot more sense.
Right, exactly. That was my final comment after the gingerbread man.
No, that's totally fair. And I just I hated this.
This podcast reviewed this musical as
I hated it. Well, what's been your weekly and 6-month obsession?
Okay. 6-month obsession. Mental health.
Good.
And self-actualization.
It's
important. It's good for you.
Oh, agreed.
My weekly obsession has not necessarily been the music of this musician. I do like the music, but I heard her talk. She was interviewed on the Try Guys podcast. Her name is Yola.
Okay.
And she is a Black British musician who takes from all kinds of genres. She calls herself genre fluid. Her name is Yola. 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 And she was interviewed on this podcast, and they asked her, like, how she got her start. And she mentioned just dealing with, like, hurdle after hurdle after hurdle, and how every time she was met with, like, a new struggle in her life, she would just come up with a new answer for it. Like, oh, the band I was in that was starting to do well fell apart, so I learned how to play guitar. I picked up a new instrument so I could get a new arrow in my quiver. And I think that was actually really helpful for me in where I am in my life. Like, suddenly I realized, like, oh, I can just keep doing things and keep trying.
Amen. Yeah.
Yeah, so I really liked listening to her talk about it. And just sort of, like, her natural response to just keep moving. Not just, like, oh my God, I can't believe this thing happened to me, which I'm sure she felt, but just the response to immediately, like, learn something new, do something else, to keep moving and not give up. I really enjoyed that. So
Amen.
She's really cool.
I love that.
Yeah, me too. She's fucking awesome. So.
All right.
Yeah, that's it.
That's it. Should I do the wrap up here?
Do the wrap up, Tom.
Do the wrap up. All right, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in and joining us back. We're back.
We're back, and just wait to see some more episodes come out. Okay, we're working on it. We promise.
We're doing it. Doing the work.
It's coming back.
Be sure to follow us on the Instagram at Remember the 00S Podcast. You can find us where most podcasts are found on the on the YouTube and the Google and the iTunes.
Bam.
Amazon. Baby. And yeah, so thank you guys. Happy Pride Month as well. This will be out. Actually, this might come out after. Yeah. What the fuck am I thinking?
Pride Month is every month that you're proud to be you.
Yes, be proud.
Be proud.
And,
be proud past the Gap's rainbow shirts.
Yes.
Yeah.
Should I end this episode on a goofy moment from the musical or Annie's Christmas song?
Annie's Sex Christmas song.
Yeah, I'm gonna end it on Annie's Sex Christmas song.
Good.
All right, everyone. See you later.
Bye.
Where does the stocking go? Here? I can't see. What's a Christmas Eve? Is that Santa's lady? Are snowmen cold or hot? Won't you be my daddy? I'm a silly Christmas baby. Tell me what to deck, 'cause I forgot.
Annie.
Oh, Wayne Hoodie, understandy Christmas. Mistletoe for Edie tastes good? Oh, you smarty, me dumb, help witty, have fun. Boopy doopy doop boop sex.
Look, eventually you hit a point of diminishing returns on the sexiness.